I have to tell you the story about Mike Oster. I know he has his own logo, so we're going to brand that as well because I want you to hear him. Mike Oster is not only a servant of people, he has served in military and given himself from the time he was a child. His role and mindset is about serving others, protecting others, and giving all he can. From the time I saw him, he was a guy that we had an experience together. We were driving down the street in Atlanta, Georgia. We saw a hit and run victim. Guy is laying in the street, injured, and he's bleeding. We pull over, the pastor gets out and starts to pray for the guy. Everyone else is just standing there, not Mike. Mike jumps out of the car, jumps on the ground, holds the guy's head together, bandages him, and keeps him alert the entire time. It was in that moment I knew that he wasn't just about serving the country, he's about serving people. Without further ado, let him speak into our lives. Please receive Mike Oster.
Every day when we wake up, we have to make a decision. We make a decision on the kind of day that we're going to have. We're going to have a good morning, God, or good God, it's morning kind of day. It's just a choice. It's a choice that we make every single day about our day. That's our attitude. Our attitude is the thing that determines so much about us. It determines who we're going to be because it tells us how we're going to be. Every single day we get to make that choice. We make that choice every day, all day. You made the choice this morning. That's the first choice you made when you woke up. If it was good morning, God, or good God, it's morning. And then the day continues. And you go downstairs to get a cup of coffee and you realize you're out of coffee. And you make an attitude choice. And then you get in the car in just enough time to drive to where you're going and you realize you don't have enough gas, so now you have to stop and now you're going to be late. And you make an attitude choice. And the day goes on and life happens throughout the day. And we make that attitude choice all day, every day. And whether we go positive or negative is completely in our control. See, that's the good news, is that our attitude is our choice and only our choice. The scary part is that our attitude is our choice and only our choice. How do we get to a place where when life happens, and it's going to continue to happen, how do we get to a place when life is happening to us that we can go positive by default instead of negative by default? See, the world around us has got us going pretty negative. There was a study done about 25 years ago. Think about what was going on in the world 25 years ago. There was no social media. We weren't nearly as connected as we are now. And 25 years ago, the study told us that 90% of the time, when we hear a conversation around us, that conversation has negative connotations. 90% of the time, what we're hearing, what we're involved in, what we're seeing has negative connotations. That's scary. What's even scarier is there's a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, written by Shad Helmstetter, that tells us 77% of the time when we talk to ourselves, we talk negative. There's so much negativity going on in and around the world that we live in, and we're trying to go positive with our attitude. How do we make that transition? How do we get to a place where we go positive instead of negative? In fact, how do we get to a place where we can start living where excellence becomes our average? Not trying to strive for excellence, not trying to get to excellence, but living in excellence. You see, I believe we can get to a place where excellence becomes the average in everything that we do. So on a good day, if excellence is my average, on a good day, I am spectacular. And on a bad day, I am still great. Because I'm eliminating poor, fair, and good and those kind of things of the way I act and think and talk and perform. Because if it's worth doing at a level of excellence. Now, in order to do that, I have to control the main ingredient, and that's my attitude. I also have to understand that when I become better at who I am, I become better in all I do. This is a theory that you can subscribe to for anything in your life. It happened to me in 2013 when I was told I was getting battalion command of a unit that was going to go to Afghanistan. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a small town kid. I grew up in a town of 350 people. I graduated with 28 people in my class. And I graduated in the half of the class that made the top half possible, all right? So I was going nowhere in a hurry, but I was really trying, and I loved life, and I was having a good time and doing all the things. And I joined the Army National Guard because my father was a Korean War veteran. And we would sit in our dining room at our farmhouse in our small little town, and he would show us slideshows, the old Kodak projector, where you put the slide in and had to push the button. Old people help the young people. This is a thing. And we would look at these slides, and I'd watch my dad. He'd lean up against a tank, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's talking to his buddies, and he would just get all giddy and grinny, talking about his days in the Army. And I thought, man, I want to do that. I want to wear that uniform. So when I joined the National Guard, I was following his footsteps. They also gave you a little money for college, and that was a beautiful thing because I wanted to do that too. Nowhere in my mind at 17 years old in 1986 when I joined the military did I ever think that some years later I would be going into combat as a battalion commander. Now, just to let you know, a battalion commander, at least in this situation, was going to have 1,000 souls, 1,000 people, 1,000 soldiers under my command, but not just soldiers. These are human beings. These are mothers and fathers and sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, people that have put their life in the hands of my leadership. And it was at that moment I had the realization that I had to be on all the time. I had to figure something out. Trying to get to excellence was not going to do it. I needed to live in excellence. So I went to a boss of mine that I'd had previously, was a mentor of mine, and I said to him, because he had been in a similar situation, he had led in combat. And I said, sir, how do we do this? How do you prepare? How do you get good enough? How do you go into combat as a leader, knowing full well that something terrible could happen? How do you ever prepare yourself to be ready for that if you, in the horrible event that you had to notify a family that they have lost their loved one? How would you ever live with that? And this guy that I had looked up to for years, that I thought was really the guy, I was really impressed with that guy. He looked back at me and he said, Mike, I'm going to tell you. And man, I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm listening and I'm thinking, this is going to be unbelievable. It's going to get me ready. And he looks at me and he says, Mike, all that you can do is all that you can do. And I thought, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. All that you can do is all that you can do. I don't even know what that means. And I walked out thinking that was no help at all. But I kept saying it in my head over and over. All that you can do is all that you can do. And it finally hit me. I had to do everything I could possibly do to prepare not just my soldiers, but me. Every time we had a training, I needed to be side by side with them. Every time we had a requirement, I needed to be there with them. I needed to take every piece of information, every piece of training, every type of preparation alongside these soldiers so that we would be trained as well as we could possibly be trained. I had to build the absolute best team. Even if somebody I knew was smarter than me, I couldn't be that guy that said, I don't want them with me because they're smarter. I absolutely needed them on my team. See, I had to do all that I could do, everything I could possibly do to get ready for that. The follow-on piece that he also told me was, you also have to remember, the enemy still gets a vote. Now, you don't have to be in combat to understand the importance of doing all that you can do. You just need to be in life. Think about life. Think about what you're doing. See, when I came home from that combat deployment, I saw my wife standing with our 4 kids. And I thought, that's why I need to live where excellence is my average. I have to do that on a combat deployment, that's important, but I have to do this in life because I want to be a better husband and a better father. I want to be a better human. I want to live every single day where excellence is my average because God is only giving me one life. He's giving me one time. And He's giving me this amazing wife and these amazing kids, and I have to live where excellence is my average for them. And then I took another step back and I thought, it's even deeper than that. I want to live where excellence is my average for me. Because when I can bring my best self to every situation I walk into, that's when you start changing the game. That is when you start changing the world for the better. That's when the people around you start to rise up. There's a saying that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Because you become the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Are you bringing your friends up or are you bringing them down? Are you choosing an attitude for good or are you allowing an attitude for evil? Are you living in a place where excellence becomes your average because that's your choice? And what I realize is there are things I can put together in my life, places I can go and work and do things that I can start to default to positivity instead of negativity. And one of the things I found, one of the most important ingredients in that is living a life with purpose, on purpose. Identifying my why. See, I told you we have 4 kids, and all of those kids had to go through the age of 5. And kids that are at the age of 5, when they ask you a question, you know you have to give a good answer. The first child teaches you, the next 3, you know you have to give a really good answer. So my 3rd or 4th child's asking me a question, they're 5 years old, I go over and I establish a team of experts to answer this question. I put together PowerPoint briefs and all kinds of charts and flow charts and spreadsheets, and I go back to that 5-year-old and I answer their question. And they just look up at me and they say, why? And then you answer it again and they say, why? And you answer it as many times as you want, and they're going to continue to say why until you give them the end-all be-all, because I said so. The question is, what happened to us? When did we stop asking the why question? When did we start getting up in the morning and just going through the motions because we've always gone through the motions? Think about the places you're spending your time right now, the most powerful and important resource you have, your time. It's not your money. I can make more money. I can go wash cars, I can clean houses, I can deliver pizzas, I can make more money. I cannot make more time. All I can do with my time is spend it better. You know, people that tell you to have a budget and spend your money on paper on purpose before the money ever arrives could not be more right. Why aren't we doing the same with our time? Think of the places where you're spending your time. I'm spending my time on my faith, my family, my friends, my career, some socializing, and some volunteering. That's where I'm spending my life. It's hard for me to show up as my best self in any one of those areas if I don't know why I'm doing it. You have to understand your purpose. You have to understand your why. Why are you getting out of bed? See, when you understand your purpose deep enough to where you can do it on purpose with passion, that's where you want to live. That's where we want to be. That's the kind of thing that turns your alarm clock into an opportunity clock. Because you have no question why you're getting out of bed that day. You wake up every morning with a good morning, God kind of attitude because you know exactly why you're getting out of bed. And you are reminded that you're allowed to get out of bed. See, it's not a right to have a great life, it's a privilege. And doing it on purpose is a requirement. I've been officiating high school football for about 30 years. In those 30 years, I've had some pretty cool experiences. I've had some kind of negative experiences. But my crew is made up of all people that have served in the military. We're all veterans. So we take the national anthem before the football game pretty seriously. Now, we're lined up before a football game. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is a little bit unique. But there's this thing called the Prospector Bowl not far from where I live, and it's in Deadwood, South Dakota. They have 4 football games throughout the day. First one's at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our crew has the 10 o'clock game. Now, this football field is down in a bowl, and it's surrounded by the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. Our crew's getting ready. They're getting ready to do the national anthem. The high school marching band's getting ready to play. The VFW Legion guys have brought the flags out to center field, and there's 2 old men. I'm talking old, 600, 700 years old. I don't know, old men standing at the tall flagpole. Their job is to raise that flag up the flagpole while the high school marching band plays the song. The trick is to get the flag to the top of the pole by the time they're done with the song. Now, these high school kids have put their cell phones down just long enough to play this song, and then they got to pick them back up. These 2 old guys are not going to get the flag to the top of that pole by the time they're done, but they're going to give it a try. So old man 1 has got the rope in his hand, and he's ready. And old man 2 is holding the flag. The song starts, and his job is to hold that flag till he gets up high enough where he can let go and it falls down and doesn't touch the ground. And then he takes a step back, and he salutes that flag, right? During the whole time. Now, that's pretty simple until you're 600 years old. This guy lets go of the flag, it drops down, he takes that step back, and he's kind of hunched over in that old man hunch. And the sun is beating directly into his face, and he's looking directly at us, so we're watching this old man get ready to do his thing. And he stands up a little bit straighter, and he starts to raise that right arm up so he can salute like he's supposed to do. And he gets to about right here, and you can see this look of grimace and pain on his face, and you can hear the bones cracking and popping in that shoulder. And it doesn't matter. He just keeps going, and he keeps raising it. He can't put them together like he's supposed to, and he can't quite get it straight like he's supposed to, but he's getting there. And he gets that finger all the way up to that eyebrow where it's supposed to go, and he starts to look up that flag, and he stands up just as straight as he possibly can. And he shakes and has pain and agony that entire time while his buddy raises that flag up that flagpole. And then, and only then, did he drop that salute. Now, that old man didn't do that because it says in some Army regulation that that's how you raise a flag. He did it because he understood his purpose. Why he was there. What it meant to him. What it should mean to the people in that crowd. See, that guy is living a life on purpose with passion. That's who I want to be. I want to live like that guy every single day. Every moment that I'm given, I want to live at that level. And then this old man who turned out to be a World War II veteran comes running over to our football crew and he says, "Thanks for being here, fellas. You guys are heroes." And we're like, yeah, we're pretty much the same thing. World War II guy, football officials, we're all heroes, yeah. But that's the attitude you can have. That's how positive you can be when you're living a life on purpose, with passion. And as a veteran, I have the privilege of people coming up to me and asking me all the time, "Mike, what more can we do for veterans? How do we thank veterans for their service? What can we?" It's enough. I mean, I get a 10% discount at Lowe's, for crying out loud. It's enough. But if you truly want to thank a veteran, if you truly want to show them that you appreciate their service, then live a life on purpose, with passion, because that's what they've allowed us to do. And when we start doing that, we can spend that time on purpose. We can be on purpose with passion. You get 168 hours in a week. Sleeping and working covers down on about 120 of those, and I'm being generous with how much you sleep or work. So that's 48 hours to spend on paper, on purpose. Don't tell me you don't have enough time when you're asked to do something. If you decide you don't want to do it, that's cool. But it's not because you don't have time. It's because we haven't sat down and prioritized the time we have. If it's important to you, you will make the time. I may not have time to paint the house, but I guarantee if my buddy calls, I got time to play golf. It's all about priorities and choices. And we need both. If you want to live where excellence is your average, if you want to go positive instead of negative when life happens, if you want to show veterans thank you by living on purpose with passion, then you choose your attitude. You commit to living where excellence is your average, and you understand that when I show up, I'm bringing my best self because I'm bringing the room up, not down. Thank you very much, and God bless you.